Hey everybody, today on Rahdo Runs Through, I am rounding up the month of June, which means, folks, I'm about to give you a countdown of all the games Jen and I played over the last few weeks, starting with my least favorite game and ending with my most favorite, the new game of the month. But before we get to that, 13 games I'm going to be talking about and counting down. I've got a couple of announcements. First of all, everybody, say welcome to James Wood of That Board Game Show, which is a YouTube channel covering all kinds of board game stuff. Here's the deal. James Wood is a very, very nice young man who loves editing videos. He's also a fan of my show and recently contacted me and said, hey, I love the Rahdo Runs Through. I'd be more than happy to help out and lend my services. So I said, oh my gosh, James, if you would be willing to edit together my Rahdo Rounds Up moving forward, that would make my life so much better. And James said yes. And so, oh, I can't tell you how much this is going to help out, folks, because I don't know if you've noticed, everything I do about my channel is designed to try to minimize having to edit because I do not like editing videos. So I always do the roundups as like one long unbroken string of consciousness, which is very challenging because I've got to keep all of these games in my head. And sometimes I mix things up. Now that James is here and will edit over any goofs I make or any, flubs or just places where I forget stuff, well, James is going to fix that stuff for me, which puts a little bit less pressure on me so I can just focus a bit more on the games and less on just trying to memorize a bunch of stuff. Yay! James, thank you so much. Welcome to the party, pal. I am happy to have you on the team. And folks, I can only strongly recommend that you go check out James's channel. He does a beautiful job editing his own videos, how to plays and all kinds of stuff. There's a link for him down in the show notes. James, oh my goodness. Thank you, thank you, thank you in advance. And one more thing to announce before we get to the countdown. Folks, I like to let everybody know every month in these roundups all of the exclusive videos that are available for people who back the show either on YouTube as a member or over at patreon.com/Rahdo. But I forgot to do it last month. So I'm just going to do a really quick rundown of 2 months worth of exclusives that you get if you help keep Rahdo running. First of all, there were 4 games you get to see played from start to finish by me and Jen. That's at the release level. Every backer, even at $1 a month, gets to see. And over the months of May and June, the 4 games were Pathfinder Dice Conquest, Spacecraft, Chandigarh, oh my gosh, talk about an overlooked gem of a game, and Things and Rings. Oh my gosh, if you want to see my brain melt down in this deceptively deep party game, you'll check that out. So those are available for everybody. I also have 2 rambles, one for each month. The May ramble was me doing a preview of over 50 games that were going to be debuting at the UK Games Expo. Now, of course, the UK Games Expo is over, but those are still 50 games I talked about and why they stood out to me as the ones to really seek out at the show. So I still think it's interesting information, even if you couldn't make it to UK Games Expo. And then the June ramble was me doing a deep dive on 2024, revisiting my top games of the year because I completely revamped all my rankings for the year. Some new games made it into the best of 2024, but I spend even more time talking about all the games that we played that Jen and I did not like, that did not make it into my top 10 or my top 20. And some of these games were like real critical darlings that other channels raved about, but I'm here to tell you, well, this is why they didn't work for me and Jen. So it's a deep, deep dive of all the games. I talked about over 100 games in the latest ramble, going into, everything, the good and the bad of 2024. Let's see. Then I've got, 4 games that I did full solo playthroughs of at the Recluse level, the Rahdo Recluse level. They are Gyro, Ravel, Solstis, and Speculaas. And several of those a few of those I'll be talking about in the roundup as we get to it. But again, those were played all the way through from start to finish. You get to see them in solo, but I explain how they work for multiplayer too while I'm playing. We did a couple of Gen Jogs where my wife Jen, it's kind of the sister program to this. I talk about all the games in the Rahdo Roundup. Jen talks about them in the Gen Jogs. And so she's going to talk about over 20 games, 2 of which she gave a rare 5-star rating to, which means they are 2 of the best games of the year as far as she's concerned. And she often disagrees with my takes. And then finally, If you didn't have enough Jen at the relax level, you get to see me and her playing 5 games together, again, from start to finish over the last 2 months. They were Treetopia, Australis, Sandcastles of Burgundy, the latest from Stefan Feld, Architects of Amytis, and the new Hanging Gardens. Some very excellent games there. Some games we did not like at all there, but you get to see them all from start to finish. And again, that's all as our way of saying thank you to help keep Rahdo running if you back the show at patreon.com/Rahdo or here as a YouTube member. But anyway, folks, announcements out of the way, and it is now time to do the 13 games rounded up, counted down, starting with, sadly, my least favorite game of the month was the Sandcastles of Burgundy. And you might be surprised for this to be my least favorite because it's from my favorite designer of all time, Stefan Feld. And it's basically a spiritual sequel to my favorite Stefan Feld game of all time, the Castles of Burgundy. So, why does the Sandcastles of Burgundy come in at the bottom of the list for me? Well, because it's, for kids. This is a real first. This is the first game that Stefan Feld has ever designed specifically for kids under the age of 10, really, under the age of, I think this is a game for like 5, 6, 7-year-olds, really. And it's really, first of all, adorable in its presentation because it's got these very cool sandcastle pieces where all the different things we want to build in our own little cities are hidden under the sandcastles. Basically, in a nutshell, the gameplay here is kind of reminiscent of the full Castles of Burgundy. You've got 2 dice, you're going to roll them, and those dice are either used to draft a tile that you can store in your own little private area, or to take those tiles that you previously grabbed and deploy them out to your board because you're trying to build the perfect little town to score lots of points. Here's the trick, though. What do you call it? When you're using a die to grab a tile, the dice are numbered 1 through 6, like dice are. And so say I roll a 3, and I use a 3. What that means is I go peek under the sandcastle number 3 because this game has a healthy dollop of memory. It's all about remembering what is hidden inside each of these sandcastles because I might be desperately looking for one of the red tiles or one of the green, or there's different types of tiles that do different things. They're all very, very simple, because this is a game targeting kids. Although interestingly, the game comes with a couple of modules you can turn on that make it a little bit more engaging for gamer geeks like me and Jen. So I would say the game kind of scales its way up where you could be playing with 10 or 12-year-olds or what have you. But the trick to this game is if I use that 3 and I look at what's underneath there, I will end up taking one of the tiles. And hopefully I remembered where the type of tile I was looking for was. But when I reveal that, everybody now needs to remember, right, what's under that sandcastle? Because whatever I don't take goes back under there. And then it's your turn, and maybe you have a 3, and you're like, oh, I know exactly what's under there because I just saw it. But a few rounds from now, am I going to remember what was under that 3 when I'm desperately trying to remember where was that yellow tile? I just need one more so I can score big. And I know I saw one, but was it in 3? Was it in 5? I don't know. And it's really interesting, folks. I mean, there's not that much you have to remember here, but Jen and I both found, wow, that is challenging. The more stuff you see, especially because there are some elements that after they've been revealed, a player gets to choose whether they're going to move clockwise to a different sandcastle or counterclockwise to another sandcastle. Those are the special animal envoys that we are trying to get. We're trying to make the merchant section of town, so the merchant envoy will come to our town and we'll score points for him and all that. And so I might have finally built the town for that merchant, for that turtle. I'm like, where was the turtle? Oh my gosh! I know at the beginning of the game it was there, but I think it's moved. Did it go clockwise or counterclockwise? And here's the deal, folks. I hate memory in games. And this game is all about memory. And it's interesting. I mean, as I understand it, young kids, when they are playing a memory-based game, tend to do better than adults because, this has been scientifically studied Adults can remember things just as well as kids. They can remember things better than kids, but our brains are hardwired to immediately dismiss unimportant data. Like, a PIN code that we need for just a second. And then after we've used the PIN code, our brains will just immediately make that code just wipe from our memory because our brains are very efficient about what we store. The thing is, little kids' brains haven't developed that trick of being able to wipe unimportant information away as soon as it's been used. Kids tend to hold on to that stuff longer, which is why kids games often feature a lot of memory, and a kid can do better. A kid would beat me 7 ways to Sunday in Sandcastles of Burgundy because they'll remember where the turtle was. They'll remember that it moved over there because my brain, my adult brain, dismissed that information as soon as I didn't need it. But a kid will keep that information because, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I could get the turtle instead of you. I didn't think I was going to get it. It wasn't important. So I think this game is wonderful. And I think Stefan Feld designed a really good game, for kids or for, parents who want to play a game. And, this is a really good, first step into modern gaming. And I think little kids will enjoy it because it really leverages that skill they've got of being able to hold on to relatively useless information for longer than their parents do. And like I said, the game also comes, giving players unique special powers and stuff like that. So you can level the game up a little bit. And so the game can grow with your kids as well. I think this game is incredibly charming. The presentation is wonderful. It's very easy to teach. And if you like memory in games or you're a young child, it's worth checking out. But I hate memory in games. And so it comes in at number 13 of the month, the Sandcastles of Burgundy. Now, let's talk about number 12 of the month, a game that I did a sponsored run through for, Compania. I think it's pronounced Compania. I wish board game publishers would put pronunciations in the rule books. They never do. Basically, this is a game from a Japanese designer and artist whose previous game is called Factoria. It's in the fantastical steampunk world of Factoria, where in the previous game you ran factories. Now we run companies, which I think is why it's called Compania instead of Compania. But anyway, this is a very, very clever mix of area majority stuff and engine building stuff. Because what we're going to do every round, and by the way, folks, this is a sponsored preview. You will be able to see my preview soon. You might actually even be available to see right now because the game is going to be crowdfunding from publisher Capstone, if I recall correctly, a little bit later on. And what happens on your turn is everybody takes 3 or maybe 4 or 5 dice if you've earned a bigger collection of dice. And at the beginning of every round, we all have a certain number of workers we can deploy in secret to the big communal board. The board is basically a worker placement board where every round new worker placement spots show up, and it's random every time you play. So you're going to get a different collection of opportunities from game to game. You're also going to get a different collection of opportunities based on the unique player powers you've got and the objectives you've got, all kinds of stuff. Tons of replayability built into this game with all the setup variability. But anyway, at the beginning of the round, after a new worker placement spot is revealed to go along with all the others, we all in secret plot out where we want to send our workers. And we do that by having shields up and putting dice. If I want 3 workers to go to, the municipal factory or something like that, I take one of my dice, I set it to 3, I put it over there. That means, if I've got 5 total workers, I'm going to put a 1 die someplace and another die someplace, or maybe I'll use my second die and put 2 workers in a spot and I'll dump my third die. So I have a lot of flexibility trying to decide what spaces do I want to go to the most. What spaces do you want to go to the most? Is it more important that I prevent you from being able to do something that's going to give you a huge line share because, hey, that would work out well for me? If I can anticipate where you're going, I can probably do better than you by either avoiding those spaces because I know I won't be able to afford to get in them. Because after we all reveal and we deploy our workers based on how we programmed our dice, then we resolve those areas one at a time, and only the player with the most workers there gets to do it. But what happens is, after they do the thing, whether it's goods conversion or harvesting stuff or whatever it might be, getting themselves more dice, getting themselves more workers, all kinds of things, the workers that went to that zone that were not good enough, they lost the area majority battle, they stay in that zone, while the winner all those workers leave the board. And so if I didn't quite get into where I needed to go, no worry, that means I have a much better chance of winning that in the next round. And everybody knows it because everybody can see, oh, I left 3 workers on there, but I didn't win because somebody else took 4. And so on the next round, okay, are my 3 workers there enough? Shall I expend, or am I worried somebody else? And do I send just a single? So there's 4 workers there, that kind of stuff. It's a really clever, simple, and elegant system that just works wonderfully. Everything we're doing is to harvest resources to be able to build buildings, because every round we want to, the first half of the round is doing all this worker placement I just described. The second half of the round is then building and activating, building buildings and then activating the buildings we'd previously built to generate points. Points in this game are money, but you need to spend that money to build the building, so you gotta spend money to make money in this game. And as you get bigger and bigger, you can either invest in more buildings or upgrade the buildings you've already built. It is a very smart, fast-playing, and very clever game. And when I say fast-playing, I mean, I'm going to be bearing the lead. This game is so fast because pretty much everything is simultaneous play. It's an incredibly deep game with a lot of player interaction through all the area majority stuff, and through the being racing to be the first to complete objectives and all of that. But because it's only 9 rounds, and each round zips by super fast because of the very, very quick resolution after everybody reveals where they're going to send their workers. It's great. I liked it a lot. So why does it come in at number 12 of the month? I've got one problem with it. The way it works for 2 players. In a 2-player game, they introduced this special set of rules where, in addition to me sending out my own private workers that I'm trying to get area majority in, I send out a different group of workers that I've got, and that group gets bigger and bigger over the course of the game. And their sole purpose is to try to anticipate where you're going to go and block you for no benefit to myself. Oh, I know how bad you want to go to to that town hall over there. It'd be a real shame if I happen to send 4 of these extra workers solely to block you and prevent you from being able to do what you want to do. And then, oh, I'll do it again next round too. So you better put even more stuff in there. The game, as a 2-player game, becomes incredibly cutthroat. Just a very vicious knife fight. And that was a real heartbreaker. So much so that I didn't even play it with Jen because I knew we'd just be going at it too much. It's a real shame too, because what I did do is I demonstrated the solo mode, and the solo mode could so easily be integrated or just tweaked a little bit to work as an alternative way that 2 players could get the full experience of the game without then trying just to stab each other in the back all the time. I talked about this in my roundup. You can hear about that in the final thoughts. So, long story short, Compania, man, I would love to play this as a 3 or 4 or 5 player game. I think we just get better with more and more players because of all the depth, but it's still the incredible speed. But as a 2-player game, with the official rules you've got to know going in, it is a rough and tumble game. And if you're looking for that, you're going to love it. If you're looking for a great combination of area majority that doesn't feel as aggressive as other area majority games, plus really good engine building, you'll definitely want to check it out as well. There's a lot to recommend. My number 12 of the month, Compania. Okay, now let's go on to number 11 of the month, Australis. This is a very, very pretty little gateway, family level, family weight game where we are basically forces of nature, I guess, trying to, revitalize coral reefs, trying to, which is kind of an area majority game, trying to build up our own engines so that we can become more and more powerful in certain types of activities. Also, trying to help turtles, travel. I forget what it's called. Remember Finding Nemo? Remember the turtles? The surfer turtles. This game, it's basically their story is the turtles are racing, to try to, surf that, that channel. I can't remember the name of it. There's a bunch of stuff that goes on in this game. And the way it works is every round we are going to roll a bunch of dice and take turns drafting them. And the value of the die and the color of the die determine what I'm going to get to do on a given action, whether it's, recover the coral reefs or invest in my infrastructure or various sundry things. The investing in infrastructure is the most important thing because there are cards on the board that if I grab a die that lets me grab one of those cards, it then says, hey, for the rest of the game, whenever I grab a particular type of die, I get bonuses. So I really want to start build. It's kind of like a family-friendly, gateway engine building game. Because if I get a lot of cards that make me better at helping the turtles in their race, for example, along the main, I wish I could remember the name of it. Oh, regardless, if I really invest in that a lot, then I'm going to want to grab those dice and stay in the lead for that particular race, or stay in the lead for the reefs, or all the different things that we could do. Because every time I grab those dice, I'm going to trigger a bunch of bonus actions as well, and everybody knows that. So everybody's got to decide: are they going to grab those dice that are so good for me, or are they going to focus on the ones that are good for them? And it's a very, very fast, elegant game, co-designed by Leo Colavini, one of my wife's all-time fave designers. She's always loved his stuff, and she enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it too, but I got to be honest, it's a fast game, and luck plays a big, big part. You can get some very, very big windfalls that are more about you being in the right place at the right time, being the person who this round happens to be first in turn order, and so can grab that one. And hey, when I get to be first in turn order, oh, none of them are particularly good for me. So it was a little swingy. I think that's okay because it's a fast, fast game. And really, I mean, this is a game to play with board game noobs. It's like I said, it's a gateway family level game, and I think that kind of stuff is a bit more appropriate here. So one more thing I didn't mention. At the end of every round, in addition to everything else you're doing, you're also trying to draft dice to help you. At the end of every round, the turtles are literally going to race to see who can make it furthest along the track in this little bonus mini game where we have a kind of a dice roll off. That sort of thing is perfect for gateway gamers who just, every round after you did all your thinking and your engine building and your little incremental jumps, you're going to have this race where everybody's rolling, trying to do an elimination game to see who can travel furthest down the track, which also determines who's going to be first next round. And again, like I said, turn order in this game can be hugely influential. So the game is very, very pretty. It plays really well. And really, I guess it comes in at number 11 because it is a bit too lightweight for me and Jen, and maybe a little bit more luck swingy than we'd like. But I won't deny that it is a fantastic introduction to the ideas of engine building, and I think does make for a very, very nice gateway style Euro. Very pretty, lovely little thing. Number 11, Australis. Now, let's talk about number 10 of the month, Time Fenix. Now, this is a game I've done a sponsored a playthrough for. I don't think it's gone up yet, but you'll be able to see it pretty soon because it's going to be launching its crowdfunding campaign in July, coming pretty soon. And let me tell you, folks, this is actually a sequel to a game I covered several years ago called Twisty Little Passages. It's a solo-only game where you are an adventurer going through a big epic campaign, playing through, if I recall correctly, the game comes with over 50 unique scenarios that you have to puzzle your way through. And the way it works is you start out, well, in the original Twisty Little Passage, it was a dungeon crawl game. Now it's still a dungeon crawl, but it's kind of in a cyberpunk future where I'm, kind of hacking and using magic. It's kind of one of those, what do you call it? Shadowrun style things where, it's high fantasy and science fiction at the same time, where we are trying to navigate through a dungeon, fighting bad guys to get past them, to get keys, to unlock doors, to go deeper and deeper, to level up our characters so they can survive. And the thing I love more about than anything else about this game is I can think of very few games that push the video game concept of Metroidvania style design. One of my probably my favorite thing in all of video games is a Metroidvania game. A game where, hey, I'm exploring through a world, I'm making progress, I'm leveling up, I'm going deeper and deeper into the dungeon, but there's always these doors that I can't. They're big bad guys I can't fight. They're too tough for me, or cave-ins that I got to find a way to clear out. And I'm always like, remember, I got to come back to level 3 sometime once I get the the mining drill, because then I could get through that closed off tunnel and explore a whole new area. And, maybe find side quests or all kinds of things. That is typified, the old Legend of Zelda style gameplay or Metroid or Castlevania. And that's what this game really leverages really, really hard. If you watch my run through and I put it up, my preview, you'll see just in a little bit of time already things were starting to open up that I was going to have to come back to later while I was still trying to puzzle out, right, what's the best way that I can make it to that staircase so I can go deeper into that dungeon, because I need to get 2 yellow keys and a blue key. I've got 1 yellow key. Another thing that this game introduces that wasn't in the original Twisted Little Passages is it's also, as part of leveling up your character from game to game and exploring and maybe finding different ways to solve puzzles based on how you level your character, there's a deck building element too, where I can draw cards that maybe will give me the keys I need, but if they don't, then I've got to puzzle out how to find the key to open the doors and whatever. But if my deck building didn't give me the keys I need, they gave me something else. Maybe that will give me a shortcut to something that you might not be able to get to until later in the game, depending on how you level up your characters and build your deck. It's a sharp game, and the only reason it doesn't come into my top 5 of this month is because it is solo only, and I'm really not a solo gamer. But I will tell you, folks, I did play this longer than I needed to, quite frankly, to be able to demonstrate it, and I had a really good time. If you checked out my Twisty Little Passages run through years ago, and you thought that looked cool, hold on to your cyber hats, folks, because Time Fenix is definitely taking the next level, and you're going to be able to see my preview coming soon. If you're a solo gamer and you love narrative puzzle adventures, this game also has a very, very strong narrative story that we play through where our AI buddy is starting to, glitch and become an imperfect narrator, so you're not really sure what's true and what's actually happening in this cyberpunk world. There's a lot to recommend. Number 10 of the month, Time Fenix. Watch my sponsored preview coming soon. Okay, now let's talk about number 9 of the month, Solstis. And I forget, this is co-designed by designer Bruno Cathala. He designed somebody else. I'm sorry, I do not remember the other designer. I am sure James Wood will put that information on screen right now because I'm not editing my video. James is editing my videos for me. Yay! And James has put down who Bruno co-designer was on this very, very sharp little solo or 2-player only competitive game of personal growth and meditation. In this game, we are novices going on kind of like a spirit quest to explore the mountain and take our place as adults in our tribe. And the way it works is, on my turn, at the start of my turn, I've got 3 tiles, and these tiles all together, if you were to lay them all out, show the entire big mountain. Each row of the mountain is a unique color. Each column is a unique number. So I might have a red 6 and a green 2 and a purple 4. And I can look at the map and say, oh, the purple 4, that's over there. The red 6 is over there and the green 2 is over there. On my turn, I'm going to take one of those 3 tiles and play it, hoping to add it to my representation of, this is a tile line game. I'm trying to get a whole bunch of tiles laid out in a contiguous grouping to have the biggest section of the mountain being explored by me. So I'm trying to get all tiles. Remember, are those 3 tiles I just mentioned? None of them touch each other. But here's the thing. There's always a group of tiles out on a public display. So if I play my red 3, for example, because I'm trying to put the red 3 in my little jigsaw puzzle of the tiling I'm trying to do, what I do is I look over and say, hey, on the public supply, are there any red tiles out there, or are there any tiles with the 3? So tiles that take the red row or the 3 column. And if the tile I play matches any of the ones that are in the public display, I get to play the tile I chose, and I get to grab one of those as well. And you better believe I want to try and grab the ones that are going to go next to the ones I'm already playing, right? Because I'm trying to make a big contiguous group. Because the bigger my contiguous group of tiles, the more points I score. But if I play the red 3 and there are no 3s or there are no reds, then that means I lose the red 3. It goes into that public supply. It means my opponent could get it next turn. But this is there's kind of like a fun sort of almost slot machine element to this game, because If I play something that doesn't let me draft something else, I lose the tile I played, and then I get my, quote, second chance. I randomly draw another tile from the big pile of tiles that are off to the side. And if it matches anything in the display, then I get to the new tile I just drawed plus the thing it matches comes over. So I might have been hoping for that red 3. But hey, it wasn't there. And then I'm hoping, oh, please let me draw a red, because then I can get my red 3 back plus another red that'll be part of the same row, because I'm really trying to bring that out. But my second chance, maybe it's not red, maybe it's not 3, maybe it doesn't match anything either. And then you think, oh no, that's 2 shots. I gave up a tile, and then I took a second chance, and I failed a second time. Maybe that's what you want. Because if your second chance fails, then you get a rainbow tile. And that's a wild, and you can put it wherever you want. What that means is every round you're going to be adding at least either 1 or 2 tiles to your version of the mountain. And you're trying to surgically pick the tiles that will get you your biggest contiguous area rather than scattershot all over the place. But then there's something else you're trying to do too. As fast as possible, you're trying to make little 2x2 grids, because as soon as you do that, you get to draw 2, and pick one random animal spirit tile, because this is a spirit quest and we commune with animal spirits. You place that in the little 2x2 section of the map you've made, and they either give you in-game scoring opportunities or immediate extra bonuses, like take extra turns or draw extra tiles or all kinds of stuff. Even since it's a Bruno Cathala game, there's a couple little mean things in there, like go fish and steal tiles from your opponent and stuff like that. Oh, Bruno Cathala, why do you make such brilliant, fun little designs, but then just throw in those little bits of things where we can stab each other? Honestly, folks, that's my only complaint about this game. I've played it solo. I've played it as a 2-player game with Jen, and we both agree it is a fun, sharp, fast little game, less than 15 minutes, potentially a good little restaurant style game while you're waiting for your food to show up. The tiles are adorable, all full of fun little art snippets here and there that are just incredibly charming. But there's a lot of strategy that goes into it too, as you would expect from a Bruno Cathala co-design, where, okay, I'm trying not to match anything because I need that rainbow, because that's going to give me my 2x2, or it's going to let me join 2 big group areas into one area, so I'll be able to score all of that. Or it's going to let me get another animal spirit, and because the thing is, you draw 2 and pick one, the one you don't take stays out there face up. You might have gotten the animal spirit and then not chosen it that I'm desperate to get. So now I'm desperate. So I'm trying to take those gambles, hoping not to get matches so I can do the rainbows. Or hoping to get a match because the tile that I want is there. I don't have anything that lets me get it. So I'll play something purposely, thereby adding it to the supply, kind of shades of, Lost Cities. Maybe it's something you want and you're going to grab. Because I can see your mountain. I know exactly what it is you want. Am I going to put that out there that I don't need it, hoping that then if I draw randomly, I'll get the thing I do need? There's a lot. And there's a lot to recommend here. It's a sharp design. It's a fun, fast little filler. It's a good little solo game. It's a good little 2-player game. And my only complaint is, it's just unfortunate. Some of the animal spirits, I have a tiny bit of take that. The worst one, the game actually recommends you can leave it out if you don't want to play it. The evil spirit that we trade back and forth and actually kind of try to screw with each other's, mountain they're trying to build. You can leave that one out. And then there's just a couple of little things like, oh, I get to go fish off of you or stuff like that. Still, those are not my favorite things, which, keeps Solstis a little bit higher on the countdown than I'd otherwise like because, it deserves to rank high. And I think a lot of people are going to love this game. The first time I played it with Jen, she said, set it up. We're playing again right now. And that doesn't happen very often. So it's something you might want to check out if you're a fan of Bruno Cathala or you just love, fun tiling with some really clever twists. Number 9 of the month is Solstis. Then we've got number 8 of the month, Speculaas. This is a card drafting game that I've got to say, I think is coming for the crown of Sushi Go as the ultimate, card drafting gateway family-friendly game. And honestly, I got to say, I think it's a better gateway game than Sushi Go. What is it? Well, basically, it's a game where, hey, on my turn, I'm gonna get some cards. I'm gonna pick one for myself and then hand the rest off to my neighbor. And then, we all reveal at the same time what we've chosen for ourselves as we're building up our own little tableau. It's a tile laying game. Here's the thing that makes this game really stand out. There's a lot of games that do this. Um, in this game, there are actually two decks of cards going around the table in a given round. First of all, I get access to the cards that are objective cards. They're recipes for Speculaas cookies, cookies that have more cloves, or cookies that have honey in them, or stuff like that. And so I'm gonna draft one of those, and I'm gonna ultimately put it in my own little tableau I'm building in front of myself. After I've chosen that, there's a second stack of cards that come to me, the actual ingredients cards, the cloves and the cinnamon and the cardamom and all the rest of it. And so, first of all, I've already drafted one. Now I've got a second completely different deck of cards, and for that one I'm going to draft one or two cards. And so ultimately, in a given round of the two decks that come my way, I'm going to end up grabbing two or three cards. After I've grabbed them all, and after I've grabbed my own, because of course everything I don't take is being handed on to the next player, standard Sushi Go style. Then I'm going to lay all these two or three cards out in my tableau, and it's chess or checkerboard style. The same type of card can never go next to each other. So the objectives have to be surrounded by the ingredients. The ingredients have to be surrounded by the objective cards. And I'm trying to get the right ingredients in the right spots so they can trigger multiple different objective scoring cards. And I'm trying to make my own little grid of stuff. But then next round, two decks of cards are going to come my way instead of one, as I try to puzzle out how best to draft from two different decks at the same time. And that's really cool. That makes this one stand out from other games of its ilk. But at the same time, well, first of all, if you like these Speculaas cookies, you got to get this game because, it makes you want to have some. The game is, it's charmingly presented. It's mouthwatering because Speculaas cookies are very, very delicious cookies, especially with the cloves in them. They really have a unique flavor if you've never tried them before. And yeah, it's just a sharp, fun. It's so much better as an introduction to card drafting games because it's so much easier to remember what all the stuff does. The objective cards, they're very, very clear what they do. They just say, I want to be surrounded by this ingredient, or I want to be surrounded by this, or I want to have this ingredient in my row or my column. They're super duper simple, but the depth and complexity comes from, right, now that I've got them and I'm trying to lay them out on my board, am I going to be able to put them so that they can score off of multiple different ingredients? Easy to teach, fun, fast little game. And yeah, I recommend it. A little lightweight for me and Jen because we are not looking for something of this weight. But oh my gosh, this is a great precursor to say something like Cascadia. If you want to introduce your friends and family to Cascadia, but you think it might be a little too heavy for them, folks, I highly recommend opening the door with number 8 of the month, Speculaas. Okay. Then let's talk about number 7 of the month, Everstone. This is a worker placement engine building game that, oh my gosh, it has a lot of depth. This game is very, very crunchy. The way it works is on your turn, you've got one worker that represents you, and you've got your own worker placement board. There are 4 different actions you can do, and these actions are kind of typical stuff. They are, get you'll get the materials you need to be able to build buildings, or build the buildings, or go out, and instead of working my own little private tableau, send my worker out to the big public board and harvest big things from there. Anyway, though, there's 4 different things you can choose to do, and on your turn you have to pick a new thing, so you can never do the same thing back to back. But the important thing is those buildings I was talking about that you're investing in to to score points and all of that. Those buildings get applied to those 4 worker placement slots on your board. So if you really invest in, say, the explore action, which is the one that lets you send your worker out onto the big board where you get access to different stuff, if you think you're going to do that a lot, you want to build a lot of buildings and put them on, and you'll associate them with that worker placement spot. So you get more and more powerful at doing that. That becomes the basis of an engine that you get to run over and over again. You might be able to apply things to that action that lets you do stuff before the main action. Then you do the main action. Then there might be 2, 3, even 4 things that you get to do after the action. This is an incredibly bountiful game. A lot of games, Euro style games of this type, uh, have you just kind of eking away a meager existence, spending a lot of time and effort just to get a couple of things, and then, oh, I get to do a little thing. That is not the case. You go from 0 to hero in this game super fast. As you start slapping or slotting some of those upgrade cards into the actions, those actions become super powerful very, very fast. And the only limiter is, oh, I can't do that action multiple times. I have to go do something else before I can get back to my preferred super action, whether it's exploring the world or harvesting things or uncovering artifacts, all kinds of fun stuff. But you very quickly ramp up and get to start doing big moves very quickly over and over again. As you can see, if you're watching, I've not done a run through for this, but the great Danny Chaw, she did a couple of solo run throughs demonstrating how the game works, and that's what you're seeing on screen right now. Anyway, the game is sharp and it's very satisfying. Plays quick, simple rules. Well, simple rules, although there were some vagaries in the rules. The rule book itself, as written, I did have some questions. I had to go to Board Game Geek, but once you get past those, the crux of the flow of the game is very satisfying. And again, the acceleration is off the charts. Honestly, I only really have one problem, which is there's one particular ability that you might get a lot of. It might be a special ability you've got, or it might be an upgrade you get, or it might be, hey, I got lucky and went searching and got an artifact and it gives me this particular ability. And it's ability, I got to admit, I don't like at all. It is one that basically lets, just adds this huge amount of swingy luck to the game, where instead of trying to find artifacts and then repair them like normal, you can just, which is a multi-stage process that takes a little bit of work before you get these upgrades. It just lets you maybe get those upgrades just instantly for free. Because I didn't mention one of the things you can do in this game, one of the actions you can trigger is a little dice building minigame where you roll a few dice, you can manipulate them a little bit by spending resources, and then you're trying to get a matching pattern that matches the card on top of the artifact deck, and that means, hey, you found this artifact and you get it. So you have a little bit, but if that doesn't work, you can instead use those dice just to harvest a bunch of resources. Oh my gosh, forget about getting that artifact. I just got a ton of resources that lets me build the thing I want to build. That part of the dice game I like. Okay, I can roll for broke and hopefully get that artifact, but if not, I can just use those dice to harvest a lot of resources to build other things. So I'm not going to miss out. No matter what the dice give me, it's going to work out well. But there's this one particular power that basically short circuits that entire thing and just says, oh, if you get crazy lucky, you can just get artifacts for free. It's probably not going to happen. There's a less than 50-50 chance it'll ever work. And if it does, that will be such a huge boost to you, but chances are it won't work. And I just got to admit, I don't know why that's in here. It was my least favorite thing about the game, and it just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. Everything else about this game's design, I think, is very sharp and well considered. The look of the game is great as well. And I just wish that one particular power, which, you might play a few games and never even see it show up, or it might be one that you keep getting access to over and over again, because there's a wide variety of powers you can unlock by building these, I was calling buildings, they're artifacts, these artifact cards that you can get. And that one thing kind of brings Everstone down a little bit. It would have been in my top 5 because both Jen and I thought the design was great. But we both thought this one element of the design could have been something a little bit more interesting and engaging, and it just drug the game down a tiny bit. Now, if you like, swing for the fences, well, okay, I'm going to try this power and it probably won't work. And it didn't work again. But then like the 4th time, oh my gosh, it was amazing. And it had such a huge payday. And that's kind of how it's bounced. That's how it's supposed to work. You try, it fails, but then eventually, oh my gosh, it's huge. but maybe just get lucky and it's just hugely powerful and it becomes overpowered. It probably won't, but it could. I just, that one bit of extra swinginess, when the dice are otherwise handled so smartly, but then in this one way, they just get super swingy. I'm not a fan of that. And that brought it down a couple of notches because it's probably, like I said, would have been my number 5 of the month. But as it is, I still enjoyed it. There's a lot to recommend here. Number 7 of the month is Everstone. Then we go on to number 6, the Architects of Amytis. And this is a very, very cool, what do you call it, tile laying game. And I do love tile laying games. And it's one of those ones that we're seeing more and more these days. It's a real popular subgenre where you've got just a tiny little area that you have to get all your tiles placed. I think this one's a 5x5 grid. I'd have to look. Of course, you can see it on screen right now. There's me and Jen playing the game. But the interesting thing about the game is you send a little worker token that you've got out to the main board where there's several piles. There's a bunch of piles of tiles, and the top tile of every pile is face up. So you can see the type of tile you want to get, whether it's a garden tile or I forget what all the different types are, but there's different color tiles that represent different things, temples and all that kind of stuff. And you want to get certain tiles in certain spots because they want to be next to things. You're trying to complete objectives. Everybody has objective cards like try to get a bunch of tiles in this particular arrangement or whatever so I can score and all that kind of stuff. So the thing is, I send one of my workers, if I've got 4 of them, I send it out there, and wherever I put it, I pick up that tile, and then I place it wherever I want in my own board, trying to set things up. Here's the thing, though. When I put that worker out on the board on a spot to grab a tile that I want, there's another consideration. I'm actually playing tic-tac-toe because I want to get a group of 3 workers in the same row or in the same column or on a diagonal. Because if I can do that, then not only did I get the tile I wanted, which is I'm getting every turn, but I get to trigger a big bonus, and that's how I get objective cards and all of that, which are a huge source of points. So when it's my turn and I can see the tile I want, and it's that one over in the middle and the right, and that's perfect for what I need for the objective. But I also see that if I don't put a tile up in the top left corner, I'm going to give you a tic-tac-toe. And that's going to give you another big, I've got a tough choice to make. Because, hey, that tile up in the top left corner, I can make use of it. Oh, that's a yellow one. I need yellow ones for this other objective I'm trying to make. And, but here's the thing. If I take what I want and I don't block you, so you get your tic-tac-toe, the sooner you get your tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row or a diagonal, or 3 in a column or a diagonal, that means your workers come off the table faster. Because once a worker has been placed out there to pick up a tile, no other worker can go to that pile. And I might be desperate for a tile that is covered up by your worker. And I want you to get that tic-tac-toe just so you can get your worker out of the way so I can get what I want. So maybe I don't block you, or maybe I do. But the interplay, the worker placement, where I'm trying to grab the perfect tiles for me, I'm paying attention to the perfect tiles for you, and I'm also at all times playing a game of tic-tac-toe. And it's just brilliant how this smoothly works into what is otherwise a very, very sharp worker placement, tile laying, objective completion game. And both Jen and I, we were tickled pink with this one. It is really, really sharp, fast playing game, a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, if you never get the tic-tac-toe, once you put your 4th worker out, all your workers will come back. But if you can get those 3 in a row, even if you're doing it and getting tiles that are no good for you, you just want to do it so you can get your workers back faster, or you can grab those objective cards that will pay off later. There's a lot more than meets the eye. This looks like a very, very simple game. The rules are incredibly easy to teach, but there is real depth to it. And Jen and I liked it a lot. Jen liked it more than me because the one thing I would say that kept it out of my top 5 of the month is there can be a fair bit of luck when it comes to grabbing those objectives. And the first time you're playing against my wife Jen, and she just happens to get a new objective that it was like the highest scoring one in the game, and oh, what do you know? It just happens to fit exactly what I've got on my board, and I just scored another thing. And yeah, that gave me an extra 12 points for nothing. I didn't have to work for that. It just fell into my lap. I really kind of wish that the getting new objectives wasn't a blind draw, or that wasn't such a big part of it. That you could do more long-term planning, and you can. There is long-term planning, but there is still a fair bit of luck of the draw that can swing things. It's a short game, so it doesn't matter that much. But that would be my one complaint, is that I just wish there was a little bit more advanced planning, a little bit less swingy luck when certain things get revealed. But otherwise, it's a sharp game. Very, very. I'd happily play it any time. Just a little bit less randomness, and that could have made it into my top 5, maybe my top 3 of the month. But even still, a very, very fun, quick player. Architects of Amytis. That was number 6 of the month. Then we've got number 5 of the month, The Hanging Gardens. And I was very excited about this one because of the designer. And I can't remember who it is. And I know James is already putting that on, but I'm going to go look it up because I want to talk about the designer. Okay, I went and looked it up, but they're French names, and I don't want to embarrass myself. So Matt can just put their names on the screen because I've gotten it now, yay. Anyway, though, the reason I was excited about this team up of designers is because it was from designers of last year's Castle Combo and a couple of years ago, Federation. These were both top 10ers of the year for me. And so them working together on a new game, which is tile laying, which I tend to love, it made me very, very excited to check this out. And I gotta say, I was not disappointed. This is a very, very fast-playing, sharp game. Worker placement that you use to draft tiles, or not tiles, cards, to basically build the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. And by the way, I should say while I'm at it, this is not the Hanging Gardens that came out over a decade ago from Michael Kiesling, if I recall correctly. This is the new one with the same name. And basically, on your turn, there are, if I recall correctly, there are 3 columns of cards, and the cheaper ones are at the bottom of the the bottom of the columns. The more expensive are at the higher, so you have to spend tools if you want to buy the higher ones, or you can take the ones at the bottom for free. But these cards you're trying to grab to build your own Hanging Gardens are full of different ways to score, different things you want to get next to each other, different sources of income to be able to buy stuff later on, or different cards that can be upgraded if you can get the tiles that you can lay on top of them to do set collection for animals, or all kinds of things. But the crux of the game is each one of these columns has 2 worker placement spots. And once I send a worker out to one of them, and take something from that column, there's only one more chance to go there, and then that's gone. This is, and I'm assuming playing a 2-player game. I think there's some more worker placement spots. Yeah, there's no more worker placement spots at higher player counts, but still, this is a very, very tight game with those worker placement spots getting gobbled up and disappearing fast. And it will often be the case that the perfect card for you that you are desperate for, it has come out, but it's in a column that is full, and you can't get to it anymore because all the worker placement spots of that column are gone, and you're having to, please let it stick around so I can get to it next round. And by the way, the longer it sticks around, the cheaper it gets. So maybe the worker placement is there, but you can't afford it, so you got to wait. But maybe you'll take something else from that column just so nobody will take the one you really want. Because trying to jigsaw puzzle these different cards together, pyramid style, where, hey, once I place 2 on the ground floor, then I can place 1 above it. And then and so on, as I work my way up higher and higher. And the game is over once somebody has actually, made their perfect pyramid. But it all comes down to managing your money, managing your tools, and managing your worker placement. This is a very, very simple, elegant, fast-playing game. And but it is crunchy. And you are really deluged with tough decisions to make. Compromises. Okay, well, I don't really want that one. Oh, but it does have, it will generate money for me. And I do need money. There's nothing else I need about that, but it will let me build on that next floor. In the meantime, it'll get me cash. Oh, and by the way, since I'm building on the 3rd or the 4th floor, it'll make 2 or 3 or 4 bucks for me rather than just 1 because I'm not putting it on the ground floor. Or, oh, there's a peacock. But peacocks wants me on the top floor. There's a public objective. Everybody's racing to get peacocks. But if I grab that peacock now, I can only put it on the ground floor where it's not going to score me a lot of points, but it'll get me to that objective faster. It's a simple game, and it's really, really sharp. It reminds me a lot of just how much Castle Combo stood out last year. incredibly simple rules, incredibly fast gameplay, and incredibly tough decisions. And I think this is going to be one that a lot of people really find themselves enjoying quite a bit. I mean, heck, just talking about it again makes me want to be playing it again because I enjoyed it so much. And I was definitely not disappointed by this team up. Oh, was it Gregory Grard and Matthew Verdier? I'm not sure if I said their names right, but what a great combo. What a fun, fast little tile laying game. It's a gateway level of rules complexity, and it's really simple and smooth and elegant, but the gameplay decisions are deep. This is a game of depth, of surprising hidden depth that you'll want to play again right after you play it. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. Every time you play, a different combination of objectives, the way the cards come out, or you're just really agonizing decisions from start to finish with my number 5 of the month, The Hanging Gardens. Okay, now let's talk about number 4 of the month, Fliptoons. And this is a new game from publisher Thunderworks, and one of the designers of this game was the designer, and again, it says on screen, thank you, man, I don't have to remember all the designers' names. Oh, that's so hard. But it's from the designer of Thunderworks' massive mega roll and write hit Cartographers. And Cartographers is a brilliant design, but it's never really worked for me and Jen because it unfortunately does have a little bit too much Take That in it for us, but I still appreciate how brilliant the design for it is. So I was very, very excited about checking out a new game from that designer, especially one that is basically set in a cartoon universe, very much like, the old classic Looney Tunes or Tex Avery cartoons. Really has a vibe of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. We are basically talent agents trying to get the perfect cast for a new cartoon TV show. And this is a deck builder game where every turn you're going to draw up your hand, and it's 6 cards you're going to draw from your hand, if I recall correctly. Maybe it's 5 like normal Dominions, either 5 or 6. I want to say it's 6 cards. And at the beginning of the game, you have exactly 6 cards. But here's the thing. You don't just draw your hand of cards from your deck and then look at them and decide how you're going to play them. You draw your cards one at a time from your deck and play them out into a little 2-row, 3-column grid, a 2x3 grid. And then you score them. And the order those cards come out in, the position they occupy in this grid, because this kind of represents, so is this going to be the cast for the new cartoon where these are the leads because they're on top and these ones are on bottom, or they're, in different rows or columns next to each other. But anyway, you play them out there and then you tally how much fame do you get from these. And these cards, as you might imagine, they start out very, very simple, but as the game goes on and you buy more cards and put them in your deck, these cards have all kinds of effects, like if they come out on the top row, or if they come out in this column, or if you have more of this particular type of card than anybody else, or all kinds of fun effects. And so you're doing this deck building, trying to get cards that will combo well together. But the trick is, it's more than just a regular deck builder, a Dominion style deck builder where, hey, I've drawn my hand of cards and now I'm trying to figure out how to play them. These cards play themselves. And so I liken this game to kind of a mix between a deck building game and a slot machine. Because, deck builders are all kind of slot machines because, every round you pull on the handle and your deck spits out some stuff and then you try to make do with it. This game goes the extra mile that, hey, the stuff that spits out, it comes out in a set way, and you don't have control over how this stuff is going to come out. You do have control in that you are trying to build the ideal deck so these cards can work well together. And this game, this deck builder, has a bigger focus on deck thinning than any other deck builder I've seen. Because after you play, in the 2x3 grid, and you tally up the fame points that they give, and maybe you get lucky and they tally up a lot of points, 10, 12, 20, 30 points, which is what we're racing for. As soon as somebody ultimately makes draws 3x2 and gets the perfect cast that will score 30 points, because these cards can do all kinds of stuff, like cards can play on top of other cards, or cards are really powerful but they make the next card flip, so hopefully it was a weak card that's the next one that comes out, so it gets flipped by the elephant that's worth so many points. All kinds of fun little cool fun things. But it's like every time you played, You draw, you hope they play well, and if they do, great. Because once they've played and you've scored however much fame, if you didn't score 30 fame and triggered the end of the game, well, you've scored however much fame, and you're going to spend that fame to do two things. You can either recruit 2 new cards and add them to your deck, and over time, if cards don't get recruited, they get cheaper, so it comes out expensive. Maybe you'll get it later. You recruit 2 cards, add them to your deck, or you can spend 5 fame per card you want to dismiss and remove from your deck. So you can do 2 things. You can recruit 2 cards, you can dismiss 2 cards, or you can recruit 1 and dismiss 1. And that's brilliant. And honestly, looking at this game now, I don't understand why didn't Donald X Vaccarino make it easier right out of the gate to dismiss cards, to thin your deck. Because this game, in a perfect world, to get to that perfect deck, that flop of cards, where the 6 cards come out and they give you the 30 points you need, you have to be spending just as much time eliminating cards, because you start with a 6-card deck. And you kind of want to stay with a 6-star deck. As new powerful things come in, you're just as fast getting rid of the old stuff. And so you start out making maybe 2 or 3 fame. But then next thing you know, oh my gosh, I'm making 9, 10, 11, 12 fame, 15 fame. Oh my gosh, I can afford these 2 really powerful things. But then I'm not getting rid of the weak ones. Oh, and my phone is ringing, folks. I'll be right back. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Okay, where was I? Oh, okay, I think I was just talking about how this game, I mean, because it has sort of a slot machine vibe to it, where you don't know exactly what it's going to spit out, and you get a big payday or not, but all that is based on how well you can sculpt the deck to be the perfect 6 cards that can get you that big payday. And I've not played a deck builder that where you keep your deck this slim this often, and it's just brilliant. It's such a smart idea that, oh, I'm not excited about any of the cards I'm going to buy that are out there. Fine, this will be a turn where I'm just getting rid of old crappy cards I don't want, or I'm mixing and matching the two, or I'm constantly getting good opportunities to buy really great cards, but then I'm not thinning out my deck, so my deck is going to sputter out. So sooner or later, I have to start doing surgery again, because every round I have no idea what 6 cards are going to come out, and the best way to control that is to control what those 6 cards are. And it is sharp. Really, really clever. And honestly, I might have thought that this would not be for me and Jen, because heck, in this very roundup we're talking about today, I have mentioned on some games, oh, there's just a little bit too much luck of the draw, a little bit too much randomness. But this game embraces that in the best possible way. I can't stress enough what a wonderful synergy there is between the super smart deck building of this game and the slot machine style output. Again, that's what all deck builders do, but this game leans into that in a way I have not seen before, and it creates an experience that's really, really unique. And it's just so clever. I've now played this as a solo game and with Jen a few times, and every time I play, you get just a really smooth and smart escalation as your deck gets better and better every time you go through it. You're also probably going to go through this deck, I don't know, maybe 10 times or so. And by the end, at the beginning, it's just making 3 or 4 points. And by the end, it's making 30 or more points. And that escalation, it's a little miracle of design. I'm really surprised how well it works, considering all the random variability there is with all these cool different special powers on all these wonderfully illustrated, again, Tex Avery style cartoon cards. I like it quite a bit, so much so that it comes in at number 4 of the month, Fliptoons. Then we've got number 3 of the month, Citizen of the Spark. And I've already done a run through for this, so you can go check that out and hear me just go on about how it's great to have designer Phil Dewberry back. One of the greats from 7 or 8 years ago, and he's been He's been on the down low for a while. We haven't seen much from him, but now he's making a roaring and triumphant return to make one of the best tableau engine building card games of recent years. I mean, this is up there with your Jump Drives and your Raise Arcanas and all the rest of them. It is a very, very sharp game where every time you play, you're going to smash up style grab a bunch of different, I think the game comes with 30 factions and you're going to mix 7 of them together. And the mix of factions you're going to get is going to radically change the overall play style as you draft these cards and, play them so that you get a bigger, stronger engine for the different types of card powers that are available to you. So the engine builder is really satisfying. The variety is really satisfying. Another great thing about it, it's one of those games where you follow that if somebody else does a really cool special power because they've got a lot of faction and I've got some of that faction as well, even though it's not my turn, I can activate them. So you're really intertwined. I mean, that's probably the best descriptor I can use for this game. There's definitely player interaction. About 20% of the cards in this game are kind of a little bit rough and tumble. Not a big fan of that, but that's okay because that leaves an addition 80% of the cards that don't have direct player conflict, but they are still very entwined in that players follow each other or they're racing to complete objectives, or some of my cards become more powerful based on the types of cards you add to your engine. It's very sharp. It's got a great presentation style, and I think this game is going to make a lot of top 10s of the year when all is said is done at the end of 2025. If you want to know more about it, like I said, I've already done a run through. You can hear me talk about it there. Number 3 of the month, Citizens of the Spark. Number 2 of the month is Popcorn, and I've done a full run through for it as well. So I've already gone way long in this episode, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. The link is down in the show notes. You can go watch my run through of Popcorn, and you can watch videos for everything I talked about today, folks. But what is Popcorn? This is a game where we are running a Cineplex, a movie theater, and trying to invest, getting more screens so we can show more movies, but also invest in the right movies that will tickle the fancies of the movie-going public. And at its heart, this is a bag builder because I've got a bag full of different movie fans, people who want to see dramas or comedies or action or sci-fi or whatever it is. I know what's gone into my bag. I know what my audience wants to see. Can I build the right types of theaters for them, and can I get the right films? And then if I've got all that stuff, will I pull the right audience out of the bag when I open up my doors for the weekend and I have a really big payday so I can make more money and make more investments or score lots of points or focus on lots of different stuff? The game is full of wonderfully presented puns on really popular movies. And as a movie lover myself, I really, really enjoy that. But what really makes the game strong is the bag building combined with the the tableau building of getting the right theaters that will pay out based on the right types of movies, and will the actual audience show up? So there's a little bit of unpredictability there too. But if they haven't shown up yet, they're going to show up eventually. And maybe it's time to bring in that Rambo style movie and get rid of Terms of Endearment, because I've emptied out all the drama people from my bag, and it's going to be an action summer. It's a very, very thematic game. A smart Euro mechanisms, fun, fast-playing game. Go check out my run-through to see why it came in at number 2 of the month, Popcorn. But folks, my number 1 game of the month is another sponsored preview for a game called Voyage. And this is the sequel to a game that made my top 10 for last year, I believe, or maybe it was the year before, Fliptown. Fliptown is a brilliant roll and write, although it's a flip and write. You don't roll dice, instead you're drawing cards. And Voyage takes the mechanisms of Fliptown and makes them even better. How do both of these games work? Well, every round, 3 cards are going to be drawn. And these are just regular poker cards. A deck of 52 cards, the 4 suits, numbered ace to king. And every round, 3 cards are going to get drawn. You could replicate this with just a regular deck of cards. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick 2 of those cards to create your action that you want to do. There are, 13 different actions on your player board you can do, ranging, from there, associated with the ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then, jack, queen, and king. So, there's 4 different actions you can do. They're tied to the suits, not to the numbers. So there, in this game, which is basically a Jules Verne 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea type setting. The different actions you can do are, based on, the Captain Nemo storytelling. We can engage in warfare to scare colonizers off from, the local indigenous tribes. We can go and explore all around the ocean. We can, engage in, we can try to sink pirate vessels. We can do one of 4 different actions. And so 3 cards come out. One of the cards, if I want to engage in warfare, I think that's the heart. So I pick one of the cards for the suit. I pick another card for the face value. So maybe I want a heart 3 because I want to attack that particular pirate ship and sink that battleship. And I need to hit heart 3. But if the 3 is not there, I could do the heart and a king because that would let me hit the other thing and I'd almost sink this other ship. So, but you know what? I mean, I might use the king along with the action for taking out the colonizers, or trying to remember, what are they? Oh my goodness. Deep sea diving, right? Those are the 4. There's deep sea diving, engaging in warfare, fighting off colonizers, and doing scientific experiments, right? And it's actually the spade that is the warfare. Oh, I'm so glad I have an editor so I can just go look this stuff up. Anyway, thank you, James, for cleaning up my goofs. So you pick one of the 4 suits for my. So if I want to do the warfare, I grab a spade, and I really want to hit that 3 to sink that particular ship and score the cargo from it that I'll be able to use for other stuff later on to manipulate cards and stuff like that. But there's not a 3; there's a king. So do I instead go for the heart, which means, that heart and that king would let me do the next level of my scientific experiments I'm trying to do, which is a source of knowledge, which is another resource I need to collect. Anyway, I'm going to pick 2 of the 3 cards and mix them together to make a card, a king of hearts, or the 3 of diamonds, or whatever it is, to do one of the 4 actions I can do this turn. And then the third card, that card is what I'm actually going to be able to use to have my submarine zip all around, throughout the Indian Ocean and pick up all kinds of bonuses there. In the original Fliptown, that third card I didn't use went towards a poker hand, and I was trying to build the best poker hand I could to score stuff at the end of the round. Now, instead, that third card is the basis of what I use to be able to zip all over the place and try to get to the right stuff at the right time. There are some elements in the ocean that all you gotta do is touch them and just keep on moving. Other ones, you have to land on a specific spot. So right now, gosh darn it, I need an 8. And there is an 8. That's one of the 3 cards. I could use the 8. That's going to let me do this trick that will let me land on the perfect spot and score the bonus I need, because I need to move exactly 8 spaces. But that means if I use the 8 for that, that was the heart that I need to do the science experiment. So now I've got to mix that king with a club. And that isn't going to work for me, not unless I've got resources to let me manipulate what the other cards are and all of that. Like I said, this is the sequel to Fliptown. I loved this 3-card bingo style system in Fliptown so much that it made it into my top 10 for that year. And here's the thing. I love it in Flip Voyage even better, because Fliptown, because it was, basically recreating the Old West, it had it had a lot more attention to luck, trying to make the best poker hands and stuff like that. In this game, we're focusing more on adventure, and I feel like I have more control over how I'm going to use those 3 cards. There's a little bit less luck of the draw. I mean, Fliptown had tons of luck of the draw, whether the sheriff was going to arrest you and all kinds of stuff. Here, the game is much more deterministic, and it has a better sense of adventure as we, recreate the adventures of Captain Nemo. Fliptown was phenomenal. I'm here to tell you right now, folks, Flip Voyage is even better. They are both phenomenal games, and this is this is one of my first really high potential to make it into the top 10 for the year, because Fliptown was amazing. As far as I'm concerned, Flip Voyage is even better. Now, I'm going to have a sponsored preview. It's going live pretty soon. You'll be able to see that in time for the crowdfunding campaign. If you missed out on Fliptown, you'll definitely want to check this out. You'll also have a chance to get Fliptown, I believe, if you want to get both of them. And let me tell you right now, folks, if you love one, you're going to love the other. I love both of them. And yeah. This is designer Stephen Armini's masterpiece, as far as I'm concerned. Watch for the preview coming soon for my #1 game, of the month, Flip Voyage. And oh my gosh, folks, yowza, that was a lot to talk about. And once more, I'm going to say thanks to James Wood for making that much easier for me to do. James, I'm now sending you the files, and I look forward to seeing your edited output. And folks, I want to say thank you very much for watching. Let me know what games you really enjoyed in the month of June. If you're looking forward to any of these, there were quite a few exclusives I had here this month, but as you heard at the beginning, even more exclusive for folks who help keep Rahdo running by backing the show. And that's it. Thanks as always for supporting the show, and we will see you again next month for another roundup. Talk to you later, everybody. So long. There's lots more things to click on screen. Bye-bye.